This podcast is on a mission to end the orphan crisis. You're listening to Family is the Answer, powered by Podcast Network Asia. We share resources and stories to equip families who plan to adopt and foster, empower advocates who fight for vulnerable mothers and children, and invite communities to impact generations. I'm Karina Kuna-Henson, the Executive Director for Generations Home, a nonprofit organization and licensed child placement agency based in the Philippines. Learn more about our work through our website, generationshome.org. Now, let's jump in to this week's topic.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Family is the Answer podcast. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're listening or watching. We have an exciting episode for you today. I'm excited because I'll be with my friends for this episode. I love being with Karina too, but this episode is extra special because I'll be with my very special friends today. And so without further ado, I want to introduce to you Austin and Hannah Heil, my friends from way back a year ago and today. I'm kidding. Yeah. In person today. Yeah. No, but at Generations Home, I feel like one of my favorite parts of the job is really just meeting people, like-minded people. I don't know how God does it, but He just does, connects us to each other. And in the last year, I know I've been connecting with you guys from a distance. Yeah. But since we met, Austin and I met in Kona last year for the SEND training, I just heard so much about you, Hannah, and immediately wanted to connect and just felt like there's a special friendship there. And not just that, but even a vision, which we're going to be sharing to our listeners and to our audience today. Yeah. But before all that, before the big stuff and all our plans and dreams together, just want to give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves and what brought you to this life that you guys just live so beautifully and are able to build together.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to answer that question. But I guess the broad strokes version is Hannah and I have been married for over 5 years, since September 2020. Coming up on 6 this year. We have 2 amazing kids, Alaya and Nalu. And we've met in the mission field. And so we kind of have never known, at least in our married life, we've never known anything but this. Right. Yeah. We both had, it's kind of funny if you dive into our stories a little bit more, neither of us wanted this life. Yeah. We both kind of wanted to kind of do what I call like everyday Christianity, which is you just have a job and you are on fire for the Lord in your job and you go after your local community. Like that's what I was sold out for and wanted to do so badly. And then the Lord called me to the mission field, and it's very similar for Hannah. But so we've been on this full-time missions journey since 2019 when we met, and it's been a lot of up and downs. I talked about previously a little bit on the last episode, a little bit about our journey with our son's health and everything. So it's been a long road and a lot of twists and turns for us to get here. But I feel like it's the best way to say is at least in a married life, we've never known anything but this. And it's been a journey, and it's been awesome. And again, it's been so fun connecting with you guys, but it's a lot to dive into whenever you talk about personal stories, but the Lord has been so gracious and kind, and it's been a year-long journey now being friends with you and literally landing back in the Philippines 2 days ago. It's crazy.
So walk us through that journey of like, why the Philippines?
Yeah. I think we have probably a little different reasons as to why, but for me, I like I said a little bit previously, I didn't really want to be a full-time missionary. I kind of went through different seasons of it. When I first did my DTS and went on outreach, my outreach was in the Himalayas. And so I remember being there in that season of my life, being in the Himalayas. And I remember the story of we were in this village in the Himalayas, and I was walking with our translator, and we met this woman, and I asked her, "Have you ever heard the name of Jesus?" And my translator asked, and she replied with, "No, I've never heard the name of Jesus." And I remember being like, I'm the first and maybe the only for her whole life will be the person who will share the gospel with her and share what Jesus is. And so I shared the gospel, and I remember just having that moment of being like, what an honor it is to carry this message to the farthest reaches of the earth in places that I've never known before. And so that kind of started my heart for the nations. I'd never been outside the US before. Yeah. But then I went back to college after my DTS, and I was really falling in love with my local community in Minneapolis. I had an amazing church, amazing friends. My family's there. And I was just so sold out for, I want to see Minneapolis explode for the gospel. Like, I just want to see this place know him. And then right as I was starting to get over the fact, because initially I wanted to stay with YWAM, but then I obeyed the Lord in going back. And then I was starting to love my home. And then the Lord was like, all right, go back to Kona. I'm like, I just started liking it here. Like, why are you sending me out now? I know. And so I went back out of obedience. I just felt like the Lord was telling me to go. So I went back to Kona for this, what's called a leadership track at the time. And this was January of 2019. And during my time there, I was just, again, it was a 3-month school I was in. I had no intention of staying full-time missions. And so my leader at the time, his name's Gabe. Shout out Gabe if you listen. I feel like he tricked me. He asked me one time as we were driving back, because I lived in his house, and he asked me if I was going to stay in staff. And I said, no, I really feel called to go back to my hometown and just pour into my community and my city. And he said, okay, that's cool. Do you want to move to the Philippines? And I remember being like, that's not what I said. Like, did you just hear what I said? And it's nothing like that at all. And he just said something like, you didn't know about this yet. So just pray about it and let me know. And I remember 10 minutes later getting a voice memo from a friend being like, hey, I don't know what this is about, but there's faith for something you don't feel ready for, and faith for something there's grace for something you don't have faith for, and grace for something that you don't even feel physically ready for. Whatever that thing is, there is grace for it. And I remember being so mad. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I remember texting my dad and being like, my dad is the most like logical, loves Jesus, but he's like very logical. And he's always like, do the right thing, the most logical thing. Right. So, like, get a college degree, make money, then down the road, maybe do the whole missions thing. And I remember texting him, literally wanting him to tell me no. Like, I wanted him to say, don't do it. And he just responded, the Great Commission, and like sending me messages of the Great Commission. And he said this thing to me that will stick with me forever. He says, Austin, whenever the Lord is telling me anything to do and it's the exact opposite of what I want to do, I just assume that's the Lord. Wow. And I'm like, shut up, Dad.
That's
like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want that advice. But yeah, so I was like, this is just, at this point, there's other things too. At this point, it's just beyond a shadow of a doubt. This is what I'm supposed to do. And that was February of 2019. And then fast forward to September of 2019, I was on a plane coming here, and I'd never been here before. And I mean, I just fell in love with the nation. Obviously, I fell in love with someone else too. But
the Philippines and the Filipinos.
Yeah, but that's how I got here. The long version. And ever since, I've just been like, until the Lord tells me otherwise, this is where I'm supposed to be.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm curious now to hear your side of the story, Hannah. Like, what led you back to the Philippines? Because you had mentioned, we were living a good life in New Zealand and following Jesus there. I mean, like, you could have stayed, but why move back?
Yeah. Well, then when I was in New Zealand, I felt like the Lord just really started like breaking my heart for more of him. And so I was in university, and before the next year would start, I felt like the Lord was telling me to pray and fast. So I did at the start of the year, and the Lord just then led me to YWAM. Wow. And so then fast forward, I was in YWAM. I told the Lord, don't send me back to the Philippines. Because I was like, I'm already from the Philippines. Like, I don't really want to go back there. Like, I know the culture. I know the language. Like, what's the point? Like, you sent me to the nation. Send me somewhere else. So I told the Lord that, but obviously, like, who are we? Yeah. So then the Lord sent me back to the Philippines for my mission trip. And when I was here, I knew that the Lord is going to ask me to come to move back here. But I felt like I was like putting a wall on my heart. But the more that I felt like the longer that we were here, the Lord just started like tearing my heart more for the Filipinos again. And I just remember the Lord, before actually coming here for my mission trip, the Lord told me, I want you to go back to the Philippines to serve your fellow Filipinos. And yeah, because I was like, there's no one else who could like truly serve Filipinos than someone who is a Filipino. Wow. And so, yeah, when I was here, the Lord asked me to come back, and I told my mom, I was like, Ma, I think I'm coming back here. And then she was like, yes, I know. The Lord told me. Oh.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, the Lord just like kind of similar to us and like just confirmed small things at a time. And at first my dad wasn't really in agreement, but then I asked the Lord, like, Lord, I'm not coming back if you don't give me a blessing from my dad. And so after 3 times of asking my dad, I feel like the Lord just spoke to my dad, and my dad released me to come back here.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah.
Well, walk us through what those years look like. You know, well, now as a couple, like, and living the kind of like just being missionaries here in the Philippines. What did that work look like? Who were you serving at the time, and like what was that?
Yeah. So whenever Hannah moved to the Philippines, I had moved here as a long-term missionary with the YWAM base, YWAM Impact down in Naik, Cavite, Maragondon, Cavite. And so she came out as a short-term outreach team, and our base hosted them. So after she felt called to move back, she moved back to that same campus. So we were involved with YWAM Impact from really 2019 on. Those first few months of us dating, but then obviously COVID hit that March. Yeah. So we were here for the beginning of COVID. And so it looked like, that first stint of us being here was a lot of, one, for me, just getting to know the nation. We did a couple trips to Cebu and another one to Mindanao. And then also we did, whenever COVID hit, we were doing a lot of local relief work. Obviously the nation shut down. So we only were able to do stuff locally. But then whenever COVID hit, and then we were at the time about to get engaged, our base leader at the time basically said, hey, you really can't do much here right now. There's not a whole lot to do. So why don't you go to our sister campus in Kansas City? So we went to Kansas City, got married in Minnesota, but then was in Kansas City for a little bit longer than we planned. It was supposed to be 3 months. We were there for 2 years and then came back. So our second stint here was from 2023 to the end of 2024, again with YWAM Impact in Cavite, and we did a variety of things. I think in YWAM, I'm similar to you actually, Jam. It's you wear many hats. Like you do a lot of different things. Whenever people would ask me what our role was in YWAM, it was like, well, it depends on what day you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. What hour?
Yeah, like some days we were in the prayer room. Some days we were doing local outreaches ourselves. Some days we were doing local partnerships in the city or in Cavite. Some days we were helping foreign outreach teams come. So there's just so much different things we can do. And YOM really has a heart for youth. So it was a lot of campus engagement, high school, university, going into local campuses and doing like impact events or leadership trainings, then breaking into small groups and walking people through what Jesus looks like. Hannah started to do some stuff with moms. If you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah. A group of my friends, we started going to communities and we would gather them up. Actually, we worked with barangay health workers. Wow. And the barangay health workers would then contact all the pregnant moms or postpartum moms. And then we would come in and we would teach them about childbirth education, postpartum care, and also at the same time, just empower moms and encourage them and give them some goodies for them to take home. Yeah.
YWAM is such an amazing ministry because you can really do whatever you want. Right. There's so many open doors, and in the Philippines, there's so many open doors for so many different things. And then, so we were kind of in that season, we were full bore, and then we had some health issues happen with our son. Mm-hmm. He was born here, and we actually had some legal issues first. His birth certificate was wrong, so that was fun. But then also we had some health issues with our son, and it kind of happened pretty quickly. So we went from thinking, all right, we went home for a small trip, and then we came back. This would have been December of 2024, and our son's health just went south really quickly. Yeah. And then we actually were talking to our pedia here in the Philippines, and they said something along the lines of, it had a lot to do with the skin. And they basically said that this, I guess, air in the Philippines is not the best for what he was going through at the time. And so they suggested we go somewhere else. And so we went back to the US. And so we were there for this whole last year. In that time is whenever we had some new dreams go on our heart. I'm not sure if you want to go down that road.
Yes, I was going to ask that because I think in those seasons of being in your season here in the Philippines was just being busy with the mission field and meeting different people, serving moms, serving the community, serving youth. I know, you told me a bit about this, that God has dropped a small vision in your heart. Yeah. But even in the time that you were away from the Philippines, it's like you never stopped thinking about the Philippines and the Filipino people and how you could be serving maybe in a different way now. So tell us about this vision that came about in that, in those different seasons, and how God has grown that vision to what it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we had a bunch of small moments where it was like, okay, we feel like a shift is coming. And we didn't know what it looked like. But I feel like it was May of 2024 was whenever we really started to feel like, okay, we feel like there's a new season approaching. We're not sure what it looks like. We really have no clue. But there were just small things that kind of built up. With like, okay, there's a new season coming. And then we started praying about that, had no clue what that looked like. And then whenever the health issues with our son happened, I remember the first time I really felt something was we were still here, but we knew we were leaving. And we actually weren't even staying at our house. We were staying at some of our really good friends and base leaders at the time, their house, because we couldn't stay in our house because of the mold. And I remember being up. I was supposed to be sleeping because it was super late, but I remember texting Hannah just nonstop. I was like, I'm having these ideas. I'm having these thoughts of what we could be doing. And whenever things hit me, ideas hit me, they don't stop.
I know. I've learned this in the last year.
It was like, okay, I have one idea.
I'm
and
like, this is 1,000 thoughts.
Yeah. And so had this idea started to form. And then really this whole last year, we've had these built into what it is now. And so what it is now is this organization or ministry called Day One. Mm-hmm. And kind of what it starts from is the overlaying thought of all the things we've done here is like, people just deserve a chance. Yeah, like it's called Day One. It's like everyone deserves their fresh start. Everyone deserves their day one. Everyone deserves their first opportunity to know Jesus, or even if you know Jesus and you just need an opportunity to do the calling in your life, to pursue him in a new way. Everyone deserves that chance. I feel like that's what Jesus died for. Everyone deserves that opportunity to know him and to run. And so it's kind of been a long journey. I mean, if we talked about it a bit on the last episode, but even meeting you and Kona and how it went from like sharing this little vague idea of we want to do this coffee shop and we want to do this thing, and then kind of this connection happening. And then over this last year, it's involved from, okay, we might want to do a coffee shop to, okay, we want to have a space where we can gather people. We want to be able to engage with the next generation, local college students. We want to be able to engage with moms in crisis and whoever really, and help start a community center. Like there's so many different things. Again, we could have a podcast for an hour more and talk more about it. But I feel like this last year, and you can add anything you want, this last year, it's just been this slow building of through trial and tribulation, through the hardships of being like, okay, do we want to do this? Okay, yes, we want to do this. Okay, Lord, can you speak? This is a blank slate prayer. We'll do whatever you want. I remember that was a real conversation we had before we left the Philippines was, let's just have a blank slate prayer. Like we have all these ideas, but Lord, like build something you want to build. And that led us to Day One.
Okay, I think we should also like just share the story of like how this dream has kind of evolved and are aligned really into like what at the time we were also dreaming of with Generations Home and particularly the Hope House that we had been gifted with a couple years back. I think at the time that we had met last year, it's so funny, like the most unlikely of places. Yeah. We were walking at Target while everyone else was doing shopping.
Where
Target. So no, but I remember, I think I was hearing kind of the same story of like what you guys have been doing in the Philippines and like your passion and your mission. But you had just been so generous with this dream also that you had shared that with me in those early stages of, what God has been telling you, what your next phase, what you felt like your next phase would be with, as a family. And when you were sharing that, like all these things were just clicking for me in my head. And I was trying to hold back because I didn't want to like seem too excited for like a first meeting. Like didn't want to seem too crazy, but what was happening there was we had just been gifted this Hope House. And I feel like in the podcast we've shared, some parts of that story of what the vision, our vision for the Hope House, and how we just want that to serve kind of as a community hub in the south of Manila, in Laguna particularly, and just be around churches, multiple churches and multiple like universities and just different communities of people, small groups, like whoever can just come and serve the vulnerable. We want that to be a place that would serve that purpose, but we didn't want to do that ourselves. Was kind of where we were at. Just realistically, we have our hands full with like the adoption agency and all these different programs that we were running. And it was just clear to us, not just that we can't do it, by ourselves, but we also just don't want to do it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
We want it to be collaborative. Like if we wanted this place to serve as a community hub, we wanted to approach that as a community and not
Yeah.
as Generations Home.
Yeah.
And so it has been months and months of prayer of like, who's the right people who will like just build this with us? And you were sharing this vision of like a coffee shop and a community hub and just a meeting point of, you know, different ministries and different mission-minded people who just want to serve the vulnerable. Like whatever church you come from, whatever community you come from, this is a place where you could just come and serve together.
Yeah.
And the community would feel that, like would feel the faith lived out that way, you know, just through a community of believers. And as he was sharing that, I'm like, that's a cool vision, kind of like low key, trying
Yeah.
to, you know, like
Yeah.
restrain myself from seeming too excited by the thought. And I was just, you know, responding to Austin and saying like, that's a cool vision. Where's this gonna be? And he was like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I said like, do you need a building?
Yeah.
That was like,
Yes, actually.
I'm like, I might have a place for you. And I showed him pictures, I think, of the
Yeah.
building. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a clean slate, like a
Yeah.
blank slate,
Yeah,
kind of like
clean
your
slate.
prayer, like
Yeah.
a blank slate of a place also.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've been wanting to meet partners who will just come alongside us and serve the vulnerable in this area, particularly. Like,
Yep.
so are you interested? And that kind of just catapulted us into like months and months of, you know, dreaming
Yeah.
together. And what I like about your vision is like when I heard that kind of just the perspective of even the business side of it or what it will, you know, turn out to be, for that to empower moms and youth who have aged
Yes.
out of orphanages.
Yeah.
And that is just like exactly, you know, what we hope to be
Yes.
doing and with this space. And so that really resonated with us. And I quickly, you know, sent a message to our team that, hey,
Yeah.
I feel like we found the people who will,
Yeah.
we can build this with.
Yeah. No, I think that that's so true. And I feel like we didn't share it a ton, but both of our lives have changed dramatically in community. We could, again, have a whole other podcast on our hearts for community. And I think that was one of the biggest things. And in YWAM, you have this ability to just be around people, like like-minded people. And I feel like whenever we met you guys, that it was very similar. It's like, this is the same heart for community, the same heart that transformation happens in relationships. And then talking to you in Target and then this whole last year, whether it was on Zoom calls or messages or all the different ideas we've had over the last year, which is we could write a book about, has just been this, what if we built a community center? Like, what if we actually did it? Not just talk about it and not just say like, oh, we like having people around, but like, what if we actually did something that was so oriented around community that was like, it became the place people wanted to come. Like, I think that we both love coffee. I know you love matcha. It's okay. We forgive you. But
Sorry, not
it's
sorry.
like, I think one of the things we love about coffee is obviously we love the coffee side, but it brings people together.
Exactly.
Like you go into a coffee shop and it's like, if it's a welcoming space, you feel it immediately.
Right.
So it's like coffee for us is a means to an end. It's like, it's a gathering space. It brings people in that maybe they don't even know Jesus, but they just want a cup of coffee, or maybe they're a university student, they need to study. And what our heart is, maybe it's a place where people come and they just don't even know where they need to go. Like it's just, and
Safe space.
it's a safe space where they know that people are going to be welcoming and people are going to be there. And so I feel like, again, we could do a whole other podcast on our hearts for this spot, but and this idea we have. But I feel like whenever we initially talked and then this whole last year, it was just this, what if we actually did this? Like, what if we actually did try to build something that the community want to gather around, a place where people want to come? And that really was the heart for us of day one. It's like, we want to do this with people. We don't want to do it alone. That was a huge prayer for ours. It's like, we're not going to do this alone. Like, we cannot do this alone. It needs the body of Christ, and we need friends who are going to run alongside with us. Like, even whenever we first started talking about starting an organization, we're like, we need a team. Like, we need people who want to do this for us. And we were looking outside. We were like, is there people who are going to move there with us? And they're like, well, actually, I think we found some people who are already there and are crazy enough that want to do this with us. So yeah, I feel like there's just, I could talk about this for hours.
I know, but it's exciting.
I'm stopping myself from going deeper into it, but I'm just so excited for what the Lord wants to do. Through day one, yes, I could talk about that for a long time, but I think what I'm learning again is that whenever the Lord brings people together, some really, really amazing things can happen if you're willing to say yes. And I feel like there's just been this excitement building. And again, literally the second time seeing you in person today. Like, you've literally met her for the first time in person today. And so
Day one.
day one. It's day one. And but I feel like it's just been this anticipation building. And now it's like, it's beginning. Like, what's and we're just on also honored to just build on what you guys are already doing. But man, I'm just excited for what the Lord wants to do and in Hope House, but then also just through this friendship and then through what the Lord's already doing here in this nation.
No, again, like, well, thank you. I know we could go on and on about this, and we probably will, like in the future, in the near future. But even just you guys just being so generous about this vision and inviting others to come alongside you guys, like this is, I know, a fruit of like many years of prayer, like between you guys and your friends and all that, and for us to be part of this. Like sometimes we just toy with the idea, like, because generations start from day one and all that.
Yeah.
Like, I just love how, like God's mark is all over it. I'm just in the many conversations we've had in the past year. And even like as we talk to other people about it, like, they're as excited. I think the community is excited. It's crazy to think, like, I just realized you've never even been to the space.
Nope.
So we are taking them next year.
Yeah.
Next week, sorry.
Yeah, next year.
Not next year.
Yeah.
No, but we are just about to see the space. But it just goes to show that it's beyond the space. It's beyond the physical, the space. But even just the community aspect to it, that, people are ready to serve. People are ready to just come together. That's what excites me the most. So aside from that, like, how would you invite others to be part of this vision? Like, what's up ahead? What do you guys want to share?
I mean, if you guys are listening to this, you're on the early side of things. So we've been just in this whole process last year of, establishing ourselves as an organization. I think if you are interested and want to hear more, obviously, if you just follow along with the Generations Home storyline, it'll naturally come up. Right now, we're at the point where we're building our Instagram right now. So we will have that up. Hopefully by the time that this episode drops, we will have an Instagram up and running. You got this, Hannah. But then our also personal socials is where we'll be putting all of our stuff out right now. Again, we're in the building phase. So we'll have a newsletter coming out in the next few weeks. We'll have an Instagram coming out in the next few weeks. We have a website holder. So that'll be coming in the next few weeks. So if you stay along with the Generations Home storyline, I feel like whenever I tell people about Generations Home, back home, it's like we're basically just best friends. So just follow along with them and you'll hear what's going on with us.
All right. Well, thank you, Austin. Thank you, Hannah. We're going to have you guys back definitely like many more times. But to everyone listening or watching, thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Family is the Answer. And again, like as Austin mentioned, like please watch out. We're going to be sharing more about day one and the Hope House and all the exciting stuff happening in the next few months. So thank you for tuning in and we'll see you next episode.
Thank you.
That was the Family is the Answer podcast by Generations Home, powered by Podcast Network Asia. Learn more about ending the orphan crisis and fueling our work through our website, generationshome.org. You can also find us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you found this podcast helpful, please leave us a rating so more people can find it too. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you at our next episode.